Hi, I hope you're having a nice lunch. Hope you recovered from the 4th of July holiday. I hope you had a chance to look at the two videos I posted, one on July 4th and one on July 5th. They're kind of good, and I hope you go back to the website to look at them. Right before the 4th of July, I had dinner with Herman Cain, who's running for the Republican nomination for president. We had a very interesting chat. You know, I'm not supporting anybody in the Republican field, but I am trying to help everybody because one of them is going to be our candidate. We want him to be able to win. And Herman Cain is a particularly attractive candidate with the enthusiasm he's built up on the grassroots. But it caused me and he to reflect on the idea that President Obama is really pitting Americans against Americans in a class warfare. His last press conference was overtly that, talking about the rich and the oil companies and the corporate jets and all of that, and going after Wall Street and the whole bit. It really amounts to a class warfare fight in which he really wants to pit the taxpayers against those who absorb much of the revenue, in which he pits the entrepreneurs against the unions and those who might tend to oppose that. He pits the management against labor. It's not healthy for the United States. In fact, his National Labor Relations Board is pitting Washington State against South Carolina, trying to prohibit Boeing from opening a factory in South Carolina because it's a right-to-work state. You know, the President of the United States is more than just a political figure. He's the Pope of our secular theology. He is our spiritual leader insofar as our politics is rooted in spirituality. He's the one that reminds us what we are as a country, who we are as a country, what we aspire to be, and what we have to become. And when the president starts saying, in effect, I'm president for only part of the country, not for the entire country, Herman and I were talking about how disturbing that is and how ultimately undermining that is. Now, I know it's a political strategy. I know that he wants to increase the turnout among liberal groups that will support his candidacy, so he wants to move over to the left. And a key tool in that is economic populism, demonizing certain figures on the right so as to hype up a turnout. But you do a lot of damage to the United States when you do that, economically and in every other way. How is a businessman going to create jobs when he feels the President of the United States has it in for him? How's a person going to work on creating new industry and new manufacturing facilities and new service facilities when he feels the government is not just not doing a good job of helping him, but is his sworn enemy? And we're getting to that kind of a situation. Now, Herman Cain, being an African-American candidate who came up from poverty and made it himself, rising in business and turning around some very important private sector companies, really has a unique way of talking about this. Because in a sense, he's an alternative to the Obama interpretation of the meaning of race and the meaning of wealth and class in the United States. He speaks for the American ideal of classlessness, for the American ideal of unity, for the ideal of us being one country. I recall so vividly, I was meeting with President Clinton in 1996, and there was a bill coming on his desk that the labor unions were objecting to because they said employers would abuse it and would turn on their workers and would exploit their workers and so on. And he said in the meeting where we were talking about it, he said, look, I do not believe that employers have the worst interests of their employees at heart. I think they have the best interest of their employees at heart. And I don't think that they'll look for every loophole they can to possibly squelch their workers. I don't think that's how we work in the United States. And I was so moved when President Clinton, a liberal Democrat, said that. And I wish that we could get some more of that spirit back in the United States. And I'm very worried that if we have a president who insists on pitting some Americans against other Americans and basing his entire political campaign on that, I really wonder what kind of damage it's going to do to our country and to our economy. You know, there's that famous line, a poor man never offered me a job. So we need to realize we're one country, we're in this together. Those top 2% in the country spends 33% of the money. Generates much of the entrepreneurial initiative. We throw them overboard and we throw our country overboard. We need to understand that. And I think Herman Cain may have a role to play in this election in articulating that in a way perhaps none of the other presidential candidates really can. So thanks for listening. Have a nice lunch, and I'll see you tomorrow.